Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Galactic Show. I have my gorgeous friend Lisa DeMartino here, and I'm so excited to do a show with you. You and I have known each other for years now, and you've been part of our family community for many years, as well as a beautiful client of mine that has become a very, very close friend, as well as the rest of your family, your husband and kids. So I've been lucky enough to read for all of you, and to hear amazing stories and to watch your intuition and your psychic development like along these last few years has just been so beautiful to see, and just the little insights and things that you've shared with me along the way. And we're going to get into, you've got a new book out as well, Visions of Shadows and Stars, which is so good to actually get to read like your insights and your wisdom and what's been happening over this awakening period the last couple of years. So I just want to say thank you for joining us, Lisa.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you. I'm really excited to be on Maison Jupiter, and I thank you for having me on your Galactic Show.
Oh, you're so welcome. And I'm just going to get through a few of the little pop-ups at the start, and then we're going to dive into, and we can see some gorgeous familiar faces that are part of our community. So let me just pop up some of these windows. I don't know if you guys can hear a steam train in the background. There must be some kind of event happening that I'm not aware of locally today. So let me just pop this up. So we have the title, Truth is Stranger Than Fiction. And, sometimes I don't know why we get the titles, but this is the title that Spirit just downloaded to me when I said, let's do a show with Lisa. So I think we're going to follow your awakening journey. And, it would have been hard to sort of keep stretching. So we're going to hear more about that today. Please remember to hit that like, share, subscribe. And we have some beautiful moderators here that are so good in reminding us to announce this too. So thank you for everyone that's moderating and part of our beautiful community. We do have the 25% glow up, which is ending soon. It's ending July the 7th. So to book a holistic wellness session with me, and I really want to deep dive and get underneath, health issues and things that have been going on for you guys. I take a really good case history when we're working in these sessions, and we do a lot of emotional release things to do with, whether it's just a disease, illness, or just not feeling that well, or if there's goals and things that you want to work with, we balance the body around these sorts of things too. So please read the description on that to find out a little bit more. But we had 25% off, which we probably won't run again. This is just to kind of announce this new treatment that we have. And if you guys are part of the 7-day smoothie challenge, it's been so much fun to see your smoothies in our Maison Jupiter community chat. So you'll be able to get through that on the Maison Jupiter website. And I think we're day 6 today. So we're almost complete. And it does say June 26th here, but it's actually July 7th will be the end of the discount code. So it's only $10 US to get my soul bowls and smoothie recipe book. And I know, Lisa, you've got it as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a few of the things that I want to get to. I'm going to save some of your links in that for as we get in. But yeah, should we start about first, your journey? What was the exact date? Was it 2000 it was about 4 years ago, was it? I think you said in your book.
Yeah, well, I think it started a little bit before that. I think it kind of started in 2016, but it really kind of happened for me in 2020. It was kind of after the election and me just kind of turning off TV and being real over everything that had to do with, social media or whatever. And that's when I kind of tuned into YouTube, and I had decided that I was just going to listen to music and I wasn't going to watch any news and I wasn't going to watch anything. And in that process, and I explained in my book that what happened was I was, when you get done playing something and then YouTube kind of gives you a suggestion of a video or something like that. And I got one, and it kind of took me down a whole new rabbit hole and kind of started me on the trajectory of looking at things that I wouldn't have been willing to look at before. And so that's kind of how it started for me.
Isn't it interesting how so many people went in that movement for what was on mainstream TV and things to just go, you know what, I've had enough of like being fed all this programming, and we all started to shift away into YouTube and into like content that was really being provided by not just like heart-based creators, but also people that just wanted to share information and bring awakening to the world as well. Oh, and I can see someone saying it might be the puffing billy train. I think you're right. We have this old-fashioned, I think it's a steam train up here. That must be what that noise was. So yeah, cute. And with this, because like you had more of a Roman Catholic upbringing and background, and I reading in the book as well has been so interesting. I mean, I've known you for years, but it's really to hear more in depth around that. That must have been really hard to kind of get your head around, and for like your beautiful husband Johnny, who's just gorgeous, for him to, you know, get his head around. And I love it that he's been so open and supportive as you've been going through this this beautiful opening.
Yeah, I was really lucky with just the family in general. I think everybody did, because you're right. I come from a very conservative Catholic background. I never looked outside at anything that would have been considered, you know, woo things or even spiritual things out of the context of my religion. So um, going through that process, I changed in a real way, and my family, they weren't really sure what they were looking at. I don't think at first, you know, they were kind of like, oh, okay. So it was a little weird. But you know, during that process, everybody just kind of gave me the space to figure out what it was I was dealing with and the changes that I was having to kind of integrate it. And in that process, I think, you know, it changed our whole family. For sure.
Yeah, I really think so. And I've seen even just over like the last couple of years, and I remember you booked a reading for Johnny after you and I had our session together, and that was his first reading.
Right.
And yeah, it was just, it's been so beautiful to watch the transformation in the whole family, and just, you know, how it's also like reading in your book too, you know, like you're watching, I think it was some YouTube, and you guys like threw out the microwave. I loved reading that. I was laughing out loud reading that section in the book, just like going through all these progressive changes, and everyone's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, our family thought we were crazy, but we were like, we're radiating our food. Like we're literally putting stuff that's, you know, going to hurt. That doesn't serve the purpose to do that. All the nutrients are gone. And after we got done watching that, he like literally stood up, walked over to the kitchen, unplugged it, took it out, and threw it in the garbage. I was like, okay. And, you know, our whole family was just kind of like, you guys are getting a little too much now. It's getting a little crazy. But you know what? We feel better. The house feels better. And, you know, it takes a couple extra minutes to do food, but it's not the end of the world. And I'm happier for it. So,
Yeah, and I can see that in you. I can see that transformation in your whole family. And it's just, you guys have had a real glow up, like all of you, in terms of health and things as well. We were just sort of talking a little bit backstage quickly about that. What do you think has been the biggest kind of like hindsight now on this other side of the awakening journey? What is it that you feel that you've really gained from this experience?
you know, myself, I think that before I was moving through the world in what I was comfortable in and what I was used to, and I was in a box or maybe a couple of boxes, and I was very comfortable to be there. I had no problem, you know, doing that. But if it wasn't in the normal, everyday kind of thought process that everyone in my circle and in my family thought about, I really didn't step outside of it at all. And after a while, I started questioning even, you know, where my belief systems kind of came from and what would be the reasons to teach us to think this way or to introduce information in the way that it was being introduced. And so I think that it taught me to question things. I was able to kind of feel into things a little bit more, use discernment, and kind of going, I don't know if that resonates with me. I don't know if I kind of want to buy into that. So that's really the biggest thing I think that I've gotten from this journey, was just the ability for me to trust me and to know that, I don't have to have a stance on things, or I don't have to it's okay to be neutral in it and just kind of observe. And I prefer it, um, now. So, yeah, I would say so I was very opinionated before. I knew how I felt about everything, and now I kind of don't, and I am okay with it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Just, it's so interesting when we're dropping like the old kind of belief systems and structures and blueprints that have been imprinted on us and really, looking at, does this service? And I can see gorgeous Emma is in the chat, and I can see other beautiful faces. Alison, hello, and Jake and Tim. It's so nice because, this community has been with us over the last couple of years, and it's so nice to see the love come through. And I want to get into the meditations and things that you were doing, like to really kind of like spur on this awakening process. But I first wanted to read a little bit from your book, if that's okay. And with this one actually is mentioning me in the book as well. So it was just so beautiful to get to this point. I'm like, oh, it really touched my heart. So this is in the section tarot and other modalities. So it's when I was beginning this journey of awakening, the YouTube channel that I was watching had a beautiful Australian woman on, and she was a tarot card reader. I booked my first ever tarot reading with my now friend, Solreta, and I was opened up to all kinds of possibilities and things to think about. At my appointment, my husband and I sat on it together. Sol, as we lovingly refer to her as, was explaining her process. She spoke softly and smiled the whole time. She listened and began drawing as we spoke. She was showing me my auric field and the colors and light that she saw within it. She pulled cards and also shared some past life stuff that she got for me. My mind was blown. I'd never had anyone talk about me in past lives except for my mother, and now it was possible that it was what I was looking for. It was so intriguing. And yeah, it just goes on to mention like booking a session with Johnny and talking to him and like his, opening and awakening process as well. So it was such an honor to, just the way that you wrote about me really touched my heart. I was so teary, like reading that and just reflecting on like our time together as well.
It's so funny. We just, and you're peppered throughout the whole book because you're kind of in there and, in the whole thing. You were really a big part of my, transformation and my understanding. Hi, Ocean. I think that it's, there's no way I could have written this and not put you in there, because I feel like you were always kind of my sounding board, that when I had something and it was kind of like, I remember a couple of times being on Zoom with you and I would start crying. Do you remember? And I was just like, oh my God. And, you were always there to just like softly and lovingly kind of just let me go through that process and then give me some, words of wisdom. So I appreciate you.
Oh, I remember reading for you guys too. And, different things that would come up in the reading would really like hit me deep emotionally as well, because of being an empath. And sometimes when you're reading, you hit like with that pure spirit, and it's not even like tears of sadness. Sometimes it's like tears of joy, and I call it spirit tears, because it's a different kind of feeling to our normal tears. But yeah, coming back to our title for the show today as well, about truth being stranger than fiction, how did you like really cope with all of a sudden starting to see visions? And, you were doing like 5 hours a day meditation, like you were actively really kickstarting this awakening.
Yeah. I was fascinated at first, but I was also gaslighting myself. I think I'd like get done with it and my mind would be blown and I would just be like, no way, that was crazy. But then a couple hours later, I'd be like going, no, that's, I don't know what that was, but maybe I fell asleep and I thought I forgot, or maybe, it's something else. But then when it just kept kind of rolling forward and it was happening again and again, after a while, you really can't gaslight yourself anymore. It's kind of like, okay. So it was interesting. And then when I started like interacting with like different consciousness, then it was kind of like, wow, that was a process, because there were times where I wasn't even sure that that's what I wanted to do. There were times where I was just going to meditate to relax. And then I would interact with somebody and I was just kind of like, okay, that was weird. What was that all about? So it was a process. Yeah.
Yeah. And it would have been, freaky at times too. Some of the things that you've described in the book, like there was a giant scorpion in one of the visions, and talking about like past lives, and not only that, you're like seeing, past lives with your children and things, because you're not only an author with this amazing book, and I'm just going to bring up your YouTube channel as well, which you and Emma have just started, which I'm so proud of you girls, and you're doing such a great job. And I love it because it's really natural. So we've got deep dives in the desert, which I'm loving. And you were just saying you just filmed another episode, so I'm going to have to go watch this after.
Well, we have one that I'm posting actually tonight when we get done with this with my friend Katie Mabry, who is actually going to start a segment on ours of deep dives that she's going to be going to in the United States to sacred places, sacred spaces. And then she's going to film a segment for that. So I'm really excited about that. But we are doing, hers will post tomorrow. And then I just got done filming with Alexis Rose from Ascension Diaries. And she was awesome and amazing. And she does all this stuff with the solar flares and kind of like space weather and kind of going through that stuff. But she's also an intuitive and a medium and everything too. So it was a fascinating show. So I'm excited for those. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. And we've just shared it in the chat as well. So for people looking for it, but you'll be able to find it on YouTube if you type in Deep Dives in the Desert. So I'm just going to check in with the other thing too. You guys got really into crystals. I remember we were talking about crystals and things like that. So do you think that they've also helped on this awakening and this ascension journey that you guys have been going into, as well as like the meditation?
1,000%. I came to a realization in my meditation that these are a consciousness. These are really beings, and one time I was interacting with one of the ones that I like to hold when I'm meditating, and I was really being shown that this one aspect of this one crystal that I was dealing with was this form in 3D, which came from a larger crystal in 3D. But then there are, just like us, other aspects of this crystal in other frequency levels or dimensions or whatever you want to call it. And when you're interacting with that crystal here on this level, you're also interacting with the other aspects of this crystal in other, which blew my mind. I was just like, wow. And they're literally a consciousness. And so that just became a real love of mine. And I have some that I feel like, it's so funny because I always go back to like the old me, but I feel like a nut job when I'm saying these things, and this is the right group. They understand. So it's not like I'm sitting at the Thanksgiving table but
you're with family. You're safe and you're loved.
You guys get it.
Yeah.
But it's it's funny because I feel like I have real relationships with some of these crystals, and they're helpful, and they help me clear, and they help me rejuvenate myself and my home, and it's just, they're incredible. Yeah.
And that reminds me of, so Lisa and I actually got to meet in person last year when I was in Arizona, and as the universe would have it, I think you maybe text me or something, and you found out I was in the States, because I don't think we'd shared that I was over in Canada and then I went to the States. We sort of kept things a little bit hush hush, and then we find out that we're like in the same state at the same time, when you guys actually drove, you and Emma and your gorgeous son as well, to come and meet us. So I'm just going to pop up this little photo too. And this was us girls. And one of my beautiful friends, John, was there as well. But yeah, you can just see us so happy to meet. And I gave you girls some crystal bracelets too, because crystals, I view them the same as you, that they really do help us to access. Yeah, and you've got them on now. So this was just I love it when the universe just brings divine things without us even trying. It just, you know that you're on that similar wavelength or vibration or frequency. And that was just such a beautiful moment. I remember, I think we hugged like 8 times or
I
something like
know.
that. It's just incredible.
We kept hugging. And if you remember, I was sitting there and I was getting downloads for you while we were sitting there. Do you remember? But
Yeah.
I was buzzing so hard from being around you that I was like saying to you, do you feel that? Can you feel that? And you were like laughing, going, I don't know. I'm used to it. I don't know. It's just always like that for me. But I was like, holy cow. I'm like buzzing. When I left, I didn't even get a chance to tell you because you were leaving. You were going to go to the airport. But
Yeah.
on the car ride home, I had to like get in the back and like sit down because I was like so overwhelmed with like frequency and energy. It was intense.
It
It was
was.
really, yeah,
Yeah, and I definitely think there's been past lives together and things too, which, just looking at like where you're at now compared to like the start of your journey,
yeah.
and to kind of like get the information, like there's so many times where, you've texted me and you've like tuned into like what's happening with me. And I'm like, you're spot on. Like I really got to see the awakening journey for you. And it's just, it's made me so happy.
Yeah.
What would you say is like your favorite thing about now being kind of on the other side of this awakening, like in terms of superpowers and gifts and skills?
Um, it's always transitioning. It seems like it's always kind of moving and transitioning. But I think that when I first started going down this journey, I think sometimes I would get nervous. You would watch a show or you would hear something and you would get information. And I was just like, oh gosh, maybe I better go stock up on some groceries. This doesn't sound good. Maybe something's going to happen. I better, make sure we're prepared. Or I wonder what's going to happen with this thing or that thing. And I don't have any of that anymore. I think now I just know, like, I always know that I am going to have what I need when I need it. I know that I'm going to be where I need to be all the time. I don't worry about something's going to happen to me because I know, I'm a co-creator of my reality, and so I'm good. And I don't have those fears anymore. So I would think that's probably the best part. I mean, there's been some really cool interactions I've had. So those things are cool just from the, because it's out of normal thing, and it's been interesting to interact with, or get like you thinking about something and you're like, I wonder, and then you get the download like immediately the answer, and it's like, oh, okay, I get it. But yeah, I think it's just the coolest thing has just been to alleviate all that worry and stress. I
Yeah.
don't do that anymore. It's nice.
Um, that's such a relief, and that really leads to a calm nervous system. I did a show on nervous systems and things with my gorgeous friend Russ yesterday.
Yeah.
And, if we've got that, we actually change the way that we're creating in the quantum field. If we can calm our nervous system and really, calm any fears, false evidence appearing real. But yeah, going back to in your book as well, it also shows like the importance of discernment. And, I know you spoke about like with the angels and things in here too. And for me, I've always seen angels. I've had like literally life-saving events with my oldest daughter, who's now 23. I remember she stopped breathing when she was around 3, had a febrile convulsion. I didn't know where they were until, went through it as a mom and experienced her. And because I see energy, I actually saw her eyes fixated and she was looking into this hole on the wall that was like a dimension opening. And I'm like, stay with me, because I could just see there was like a trance. And she actually stopped breathing. And luckily I was at my mom's house at the time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, mom, she's not breathing. I'm holding her, this little, 3-year-old lifeless. And I don't know why, but I said, angels, please come, please like help. And I saw 2 giant golden angels whoosh in. All of a sudden, this air, this like inspiration, a breath just came back into her body. And I just know, when people talk about not being sure on angels and things, I know you and I and many, many other clients and people I know have had the most beautiful, amazing experience. It makes me really emotional
Okay.
talking about it because it was so intense.
Yeah.
It's not the only time I've seen angels around her too.
Yeah.
But yeah, can you maybe share some of your stories around just beautiful things like that?
And I just really quickly too, after I wrote that, because I, follow a lot of the people that, and I understand that are talking about like, listen, some of these names, these, you know, they were talking about, the archangels, specifically Michael and Gabriel, and how they end with El and Elohim. And, these aren't who you think they are and all of those things. And I understand that. And there's like a level of, ancient texts and things like that that are in that these things are mentioned in. And I am a very pragmatic person coming from those things. Those are the things that I would be like, okay, I mean, we've got it in ancient text. Obviously, there's something more to this. And I had gone in, I was going to go in for some reason, I'm sure with most of us, when we go into the water, there's something about getting downloads or being clearer. It's like a conduit, right? For information and stuff. And so I was getting into the shower. I was thinking about that stuff. And I had just written that part of the book. And I was going, I'm going to request like a lucid dream or something where I'm getting some clarity about the situation with angels, because, it hasn't been my experience. And I just feel like there's got to be more to this than what we understand. And I literally heard them saying to me, like, you don't have to wait for you to go to sleep. Like, we'll tell you right now. And I was like, oh, okay. And I want to find it, because I jumped out of the shower and I wrote it down, and I was actually going to save it for a book, but if you don't mind, I'll read to you what I got.
That would be amazing. Thank you, Lisa.
I'm just going to put my glasses on. I'm going to put my glasses on because I'm 53 and I can't see. Okay. Okay. So what I got, I just put in the shower, just watch somebody discussing religion on her show, was thinking about it and the Bible, etc. Began thinking about angels and controversy. I asked for clarification on angels tonight when I slept. I was getting it now. They said, I said, okay, who are they? And I mentioned a couple of people that I said, is their version, which is, the Elohim thing. And then I put, because I feel I've connected to benevolent beings. And they said, I got, the historical account is accurate. However, we, humanity, collectively created a version that is a living being and an accurate representation of the version that we were taught about. We did this by manifesting their existence in prayers, thoughts, visualizations, and beliefs. And I asked how. And they said, we co-created these benevolent beings, and they are interacting with humanity. And I said, so we replaced the others? And they said, no, they exist in the field. However, we don't have to worry about interacting, as the beings we call upon are the benevolent beings of the same name. It's an energetic resonance. And I said, so they're just a newer version? And they said, no. Well, they have, and I said, well, they haven't been around as long as the others. And they said to me, there is no time. The particulars of their creation begin when humanity believes that they came to be. The potency of their existence is strong, and they are now part of creation with their own trajectory of reality for themselves. And I said, so we created them by believing in large groups over a long time, and now they are real in a realm somewhere else? And they said, yes. And then I put, wow, I was not expecting that. Many people have now been to this realm of angels, and they have chosen to experience this consciousness for themselves. And then I asked, like John, my husband, and they said, yes, like John. So that's what I got.
That's an incredible download. And this is where, discernment is that utmost thing that we need to have, like when we're working with spirit and we're working with things that are existing on other dimensional frequencies. And I think, when you do that protection, and I know that was part of in your book as well, you talked about the importance of doing protection before going in. And I always ask, do you love me unconditionally, or are you here for my best and highest good when we're interacting with any of these things? And I always ask 3 times, because it's a shamanic technique that never fails to let us know if something is positive or negative, because, there can be trickster beings beings that will present as some of these light beings, but you can feel the difference. It's the difference is more kind of like inauthentic or really not there for, for your best and highest good or self-serving or ego boosting. It's not that there's really that fine line. And the point that we're in now on the awakening journey, it's so apparent the difference between those that are tricksters and those that are really there. And it hits you on such a deep emotional level. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's something that you can feel. I mean, you know the difference when you're interacting with a consciousness that, is loving and there as a support system and guidance. And I've called upon them so many times to be protective of my home and my family, my animals. When I've had darker energies that have tried to come into my space and I've cleared them out, but I can feel them trying to come back in and I've cleared them out. I've called on the angels to come in and just kind of help me clear it out. And I mean, like right now it's cleared out. So
Yeah.
those things happen. It's very hard for you to doubt it.
Yeah, definitely. And I've had even like in the dream realms, because we're in that state now where we're starting to become awake in different timelines. We're having where our consciousness is awake within the dreamscape and we can kind of navigate it a bit. Just even last night, I was having dreams with all these animals coming up to me in little wallabies and kangaroos trying to jump in my arms, like really strange animal dreams last night. But I think it's, that the consciousness is shifting on the planet. And I think when we're having negative or trickster type things in the dream realm or nightmares, I've even had where I've consciously been aware and I've called Archangel Michael in, and he literally has come in with that sword and everything is just dissipated instantaneously while he's been there. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey in the community, and there's a lot of almost like different narratives that are happening right now. So I really love it that the message in the book just really reaffirms to check in for yourself. Like, don't believe everything that's programmed or kind of like, fed to us, whether it's like religion or childhood and things like that.
Yeah.
The other thing that I've been dying to ask you is if you can kind of run us through like a little process of how you get into that space. I know you'd use binaural beats and things, and I have as well, like, what's sort of like your system? Where are you at now in terms of not only getting into that state? And I do want to ask about chakra clearing as well. I'm not sure if that's like part of you getting in, or but if you can explain your process.
Yeah, well, I definitely think that having my chakras cleared and aligned is the first part of that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be at the beginning of the meditation, but I'll definitely have had to have done that day or that morning, which I try to just do a quick, before I even get out of bed, I kind of say what I'm grateful for. I bring light into myself, which I just watch myself kind of breathe it in, and I watch it go into all of my cells, and I move that light, from below my feet and I don't know why, because I haven't found anything that's stating this, but I visualize it different than I did. So, I have the 7 chakras that I'm clearing, but I go down below my feet to the earth, I'm going blank right now, but that earth chakra,
like
the
core star.
Yeah, that one, but I'm also going down below 2, and I'm going up 3 as well. So it's kind of like 3 below, 3. That's where I mostly stay. I mean, I'll go up above that sometimes, but it almost looks like my toroidal field. I'm watching the toroidal field, and it kind of almost looks like an apple with an apple core, where it's moving.
Yeah.
But then beyond that, it almost looks like layered Vesica Pisces, like that look, how that does that. Do you know what I mean? The Vesica Pisces.
Yeah,
it's kind of like when you cut open a melon and you look at the inside of the melon, and it kind of has that. That's what it reminds me of. But or your eye, and you turn it inside.
Do you mean the toroidal field? It's almost
like
that donut?
Over the toroidal. So I have the toroidal field, and then there's like this 3-layer of this like Vesica Pisces thing. I don't know, but
which is like the interlocking circles that form that almost like a rounded kind of diamond shape.
Yeah, but they kind of go above it. They kind of go above it. It's hard to explain, but anyway, so I see that, and I'm moving the light kind of through all of those, and I'll just kind of quickly activate them by just kind of staring at the middle of them, like at a point, and I just fill it with light. And then once I do that, I'm kind of done for the day. Like I'll get up and I'll start my day. But that's just like a really quick thing I do before I get up. And then when I go to meditate, it usually starts with breathing, just clearing myself, watching my breath, moving into that. And I kind of ask, I'll say, I'm, yes, it's the earth star. Yes, Victor, that's it. But then I kind of do the ones below it too. There's like 2 that I really work with below it. I don't know how many there are. I know people talk about like 12, 24 and beyond, but for me, the ones that I focus on the most and concentrate are 3 above my head, like above the crown, and 3 below my feet. So that's kind of where I kind of sit. And then I just kind of breathe and ask. And that's what kind of gets me into that meditative state. I'll start asking questions, and then I just start getting, answers.
And how did the answers come through? I know that you had, and thank you for explaining that process too. And it's interesting how it kind of morphs and change, and like we shift with the times too. So, it's, I guess, to become like where we're flexible with things, because sometimes spirit will be like, here's another layer, or here's another, step up. So it sounds like you might be going through a little bit of that as well. I've just lost my train of thought for a question. I must be meant to go on to another thing. I do want to bring up, let me just screen share this as well. I want to bring up reference to your book, which is available on Amazon, and you were so sweet gifting me a book, and I cherish like the little note that you put into it for me. So we can see here, Visions of Shadows and Stars, My Awakening to the Mysteries and Miracles of the Universe. And you've got some really good reviews on it as well, which is so lovely to see, like the community also like really getting involved and reading your book. It's been lovely to see on Facebook and things, different people just loving your book. But yeah, I really found it such a beautiful journey, just seeing like how much things can really change. Like you were definitely not the same person that you were a couple of years ago. And I'm just going to also drop this into our little message thread we've got happening here on YouTube.
Thank you.
That's okay. So yeah, people can go and reference or type into Amazon the title of your book. And I also wanted to talk about, there was a really interesting experience more towards the start of the book too, talking about when your mother-in-law at the time, so earlier on in your journey, before like, I think maybe before the awakening happened, when your older kids were small, and you sort of like sensed or had her spirit come to you. So I do think like you're a natural, whether it's a medium or you've got natural clairvoyance and things too. So I think it was a matter of time before like your journey opened one way or another. I love the way that it's opened. But can you explain what it was like mentally to kind of hold that information, or like what, because it sounds like reading in the book too, that it felt like that you may have felt you were going crazy or hearing things. What was that like, and how did you get comfortable with that? Because I think some people will really try and push that away and close everything back down. How did you sort of still stay open?
I think I did that at first. I think I did kind of close down because, it was so, like, I recognized it to be her. And I guess at the time I didn't even try to think or process the fact that how I was kind of working it out in my mind. I recognized her energy, even though I couldn't necessarily see her, although I did see her at one point, but this would have been going on for the week after her death. So it was like almost, I wouldn't say it was that first night and day after she had passed, but this was a unexpected thing. She was very, very young. I think she was 46. And it wasn't something that we were, of course, even thinking was in the realm of possibility. So there was that aspect of it that was kind of shocking, and you were in that place anyway. So I think I was just chalking a lot of it up to that at first when I was feeling her. And then once I saw her, it was kind of hard not to go, okay, this is something, this is a a real thing. Do you see all the things behind you, around you?
I just saw one fly past when you were just talking about her.
Oh, cool. Anyway, so I see them all the time. I'm always watching you and spotting them. I'm like, there's one.
Jake saw them as well. I've seen a few people comment. Oh, and Corbin. And Rainbow Sun. Yeah, there's a few people seeing the fairies that are around. It's just, and even last night talking with the girls at Maison Jupiter, we were on a video chat and they were just flying around. It's just, I think there's a lot of fairy energy. And I know Johnny, that's his nickname for me as well. You guys call me the fairy.
You know, in our family, you are the fairy. So that's
yeah. So yeah, that would have been a shock, you know, first of all, like her passing at such a young age, but then, and I know exactly what you mean in terms of like feeling their energy or presence around. We've had some people pass, you know, sort of like within the circle and things recently. And it's interesting. It's like they transition, they're not in body, but you can still feel their consciousness around and still feel their spirit around, which is comforting. Like when you look at it, sort of when we come to terms mentally with, oh my God, this is real. It's actually like a really, you know, it's a high comfort.
I think if you're in a place to receive it in that way, then it can be. But when you, like for me, I wasn't awake to any of these things at all. And because it didn't fit in the narrative that I grew up in, and it didn't fit in the narrative that I was comfortable in, because I would have to accept the fact that things weren't the way that I knew them to be. So I couldn't allow myself to buy into that 100%, even though I saw it. And even though, you know, there were two different aspects of her that showed up for me. There was one that looked a lot, like I said in the book, that it would almost be like a holographic kind of thing because she was that clear. And then the other one was just like the outline, like a shadow of her, but it was distinctly her shape. She was a very specific, you know, shaped person, and it was definitely her. And so those things, there's not a lot you can do with it. But I said in the book too, I noticed that over time, I started kind of self-editing the way I would explain things, you know, about these situations. It was like my mom would hear it the way that I felt it. And, you know, my husband at the time would hear it the way that I experienced it. But that was kind of it. There wasn't anybody else that I was really going to, because if somebody told me, I would have thought they were nutty. So I was thinking, of course, they're going to think I'm crazy. So I didn't process it that way. But as time went, if somebody would have said to me, you think you maybe dreamt it or you think you maybe made it up, I would have said definitively no. I absolutely felt her, and it was her, you know.
Yeah. Oh, it's just incredible. And I know sometimes like with grandparents passing, they, you know, they'll be there to kind of check on the grandkids and things. I've even had with one of my kids, one of the grandfathers had passed, or the great grandfather, and I woke up to the cot, which wasn't one of those cots that you rock. He was standing there at probably like 2 or 3 in the morning, like just rocking the cot. And my daughter was like awake. And I'm like, even though I'm used to seeing things my whole entire life, I'm like, can you please like come back when it's daytime? Like, please don't turn up in the middle of the night.
You're freaking me out.
So, you know, we can set boundaries with these types of things as well. Oh, I did have a little question for you as well on what would be like really great guidance for people that are wanting to start on this journey? Because you've been through literally 2 lives in one. It seems like the difference between the before and the after. If people are sort of like on this journey where they want to see more, or they want to start to maybe perhaps interact with spirit, what would be like your highest recommendation?
Well, I think the most important thing is to be open and to, you know, I heard Marina Jacobi say before, it's like when she talks about manifesting, you know, it's like if you were trying to download a show to watch or a song or something else, you can't download it and watch it if you're 99%, right? It's got to be downloaded 100%. It's the same thing with your belief system. You can't be 99% in and then have that little bit of doubt and say, I don't know if that's possible, you know, or it would be cool, but I'm not sure. You can't be like that. Like you have to be all in. And you have to just kind of recognize that, you're ready to do this. This is something that you want to do. And I think that is really the most important part of it. But then, you want to start building a relationship with your guidance that's around you. And I think that you do that by quieting yourself. And I remember, and I said that in my book, that I remember meditation. I had heard somebody, you hear it defined a lot of different ways, but I heard somebody say that it's almost like a prayer, but instead of talking, you're listening when you're meditating. And I thought, that's perfect. That's exactly, what I want to do. And so I think that that's it. It's quieting yourself down and then asking your guidance, that you want to have these interactions and you want to, maybe you have questions and you want them answered, and then ask them. And, I said in the book too, that, it's a different voice than the one that you hear. It's quieter, I find. Do you find that too? It's,
Yeah. And it's quieter, and it's like little threads or seeds of consciousness that if we're busy or we're like taking in social media or things like that, it's much harder to hear. So it's to grab those first seeds and not to then second guess mentally. So I think sometimes, like when we're first starting out, we'll mentally guess or we'll try and translate. And that's why, like in my readings, I always say exactly what I get, even if to me it might sound weird or there'll be like, a strange vision or, an alien or something like that I've never seen before. I won't edit. Like I literally will just bring the information through in the purity, because sometimes spirit will have a deeper explanation or understanding for us. But yeah, that's a really important thing that you mentioned about it being that bit quieter.
Yeah, it's a lot quieter. The one that you hear that when you're kind of thinking and stuff, that's your ego, right? That's the one that can be critical. That's the one that can tell you, no, that's not what that was. That was, something else. The voice that we're talking about is a much quieter voice, and it's always loving. But the more you get used to listening to it, you'll catch a little something and you'll be like, wait, what was that? And you can kind of ask it to repeat, and it will. But when you get used to listening to it, it's like a muscle, and it will be easier to listen to that. And then before you know it, you can have full on interaction with that, because it's really always with you. It's just, we're so busy in our life that we don't hear it. We don't even know to tune in. But you'll know you're listening to the right one when your heart and your mind, that coherence is happening, and it kind of resonates with your gut. It resonates with your heart. And then you're like, okay, this is the voice.
Yeah. And that's good that you mentioned about the heart coherence. And our beautiful friend John in Arizona as well, he actually gave me, the heart math, the brain heart coherence little monitor, which I've still got to like work out how to use properly. But that's so important.
Gigi has it. I got it for her because I homeschool her. So yeah, she got that too.
And I'm glad that you mentioned Marina Jacoby as well. I love her work. Like I could listen to her all day, because it really resonates with what I've seen and experienced, and the way that, I've seen this quantum field kind of interact with this. I'm just going to go into another question that I had as well. So how was it that you went about finding your community? I know you mentioned a little bit in the book in that you were more kind of like YouTube would guide you along the way, but it was also to do with like your resonance. If you were going to, talk to people now about sort of finding their community, what sort of recommendations would you give them?
There's certain aspects of the Truther community, and when you're doing these things, that you can always resonate with. And it's going to be a little bit more like, for some people, maybe it's the astrology aspect. For some people, it might be the alien aspect. For some people, or a little bit of all of those things. So I would suggest watching those things, getting yourself involved in the chat. You'll start kind of interacting with people, and they'll give you other people to watch. That's how I found Marina. And then, you'll start watching other shows, and you'll find people that's how I found you, and then, look at the friendship we've developed over the years. It's, incredible. So, I think that's how you do it. That's what worked for me. And, then you'll start talking to people on your own. I mean, look at Allison. she's got a segment on my podcast now, and her and I are like you and I, like we're leaving messages for each other all day long and doing those things. She started out a chat friend. So, that's how you do it, I think. And it's really important, because when you don't have the people in your life necessarily that are maybe on the same exact page as you, like my family, they gave me the space, they gave me the ability to just kind of dive in and see what it was. But I was the only one in the space that I was in at the time. And so, I think that it's important to have those people that are kind of searching in the same places you are.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's beautiful to reflect back on that. And Allison's such a gorgeous person too. And there's a few people that like I've met, John, that's in our little soul family as well.
Yeah, John's great too. He and I text sometimes too. And Ocean and I, we reach out to each other too, and different people. But it is important. It's nice to have those little touchstones.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And especially with, a lot of our community is quite segregated, where meaning that, they might live out further in the country and not have people that are, awakened to these sorts of things that are living around them, or family members that are, a lot of us are the black sheep or the rainbow sheep in the family or star seeds. And yeah, it's important to not feel alone, to know that, there are people on here that are interacting and things too. So I don't want anyone to ever feel alone. I do, because we're looking into like wellness a lot at the moment, like on our channel, Mace on Jupiter. I wanted to ask you, because you've had such like a wellness journey over these last couple of years, and Johnny as well, like to see the transformation in all of you guys has been incredible. What would you say has been like, have you noticed a difference in terms of like your ability to kind of shift up a gear in terms of like information and things coming in since you've been on that journey?
Yeah, detoxing was critical. And I didn't realize, the extent of it. But now at this point, I think that I've been using things to detox, the heavy metals and things like that for years now. I have a regimen that I stay with supplements and things like that. I've changed the way that I eat. I'm not full vegan, but I am mostly vegetarian. At this point, I do eat protein sometimes via meat or a fish. I really don't prefer it. Emma's the same way. I think her and I in the family, we could totally just put it down and not have it at all, just because it sounds great. It kind of grosses me out now, which is crazy, because I was like a foodie and I loved cooking and I loved eating. And now I really don't care about that stuff as much anymore. We are enjoying your smoothies and your soul bowls. It's fun because it's like yummy and it tastes good and you feel like you're still getting something. So that's, refreshing and all of that. So the girls love it too. We've always got the blender out and, we're doing things. So that really helps too. And I've been telling you for years, I wish you would like do a show or something where you're doing it, because I could use it. I'm sure a ton of people could. But because all your food looks so good when we were making it. I'm like,
well, you were a big like, energy pushing me behind getting it done. And I have a few other friends and a few other people in the community. And it's been just one of those things that I put off for years and years because, busy with kids, busy with work. And yeah, to sit down and just get it done. I feel like it's just, it's like the weight of the world off my shoulders, feeling that I had to birth this smoothie book into being. So thank you. And I've tried to put in, because I'm a foodie as well. And a lot of the time it's swapping things out. But the crux of it is detoxification, looking after gut health, which we go through in one-on-one sessions. I really look at people's diets and things and what they're doing, and, really looking at like what suits them, what suits their lifestyle and things too. But I'm just so happy to have been on this journey with you. I did have another question as well. Let me just see where we're at. Oh, in terms of like Star Family and things, what was that like, opening up to that realm, that side of things? Because that's literally like a whole nother world.
Yeah, that was crazy. Really, if I'm honest, that was crazy. I was not ready for that at all. And I didn't think that, meditating and doing those kind of things, wasn't looking at having a spiritual aspect of having ETs part of that. I never put those two things together. Why would I don't know. It wasn't something, that was in the norm or the mainstream. And now I find that I have this family that is always been there and always looking out for me. And, they're not here right now, physically with us, but they're always here, with me. So
Yeah.
that was intense. And that was probably the hardest aspect of it to wrap my head around. And I had a really hard time trying to figure out who I was and what that meant. I think I went through a point of kind of being nihilistic about everything for a while when I was first doing it, because everything felt I felt like I was in an upside down world. It was like everything I thought was good and true was not. And then everything I thought was like fairy tales and pretend land was true. And I was just like, what is happening? I don't know. So it was kind of crazy. But now it's amazing. It's exciting. I can't wait to see what else unfolds. I'm interacting with, new and different consciousnesses, and that's incredible. And I'm meeting other people that are doing it too. Right now, I am all over Katie Taft. She does Katie in the Chorus on like Spotify and YouTube and stuff. And every time I listen to her, I'm not even kidding, Soul. It's like I'll be thinking about something and then I'll watch her podcast, and it's literally the subject she's talking about at that moment. And I'm just like, how does she keep doing that? It's crazy. Yeah. And she interacts with a few different groups of beings too. So it's fascinating. It's fascinating.
It is. And it's just one of those journeys that it's like there's so many twists and turns or different, spirals and things that happen and beautiful synchronicities and friendships to be made. And, a lot of the time it's just reconnecting with people that we've known, before we've come and, popped into this realm or this world. A lot of us have all known each other. And that's why there's sometimes, a familiar feeling. And even with some of my gorgeous clients too, I'm like, where have I met you before? And I know that it's not here. And then we look into the starseed sides of things. I'm like, oh, we have this place and this place in common. And and we were talking a little bit backstage too around, I think, was it dreams or something you had just recently? You were saying that you were seeing me in dreams, or there was something happening that, and I'm like,
there's just one aspect of us, and we're always together. But yes, I'll have dreams. Remember the one with the blue hood that I saw you, and and whatever's going on in those dreams and the correlations with what's going on in life. It's like once we talk about it, we're just like, okay, that's weird, because it's literally something that's just happening. But there's an aspect of us that I keep seeing over and over again and interacting with, and we are on a ship, and we're working with plants. So I don't know exactly what we're doing up there, but we're having a lot of fun and we're always laughing. I see that. We're always goofing off. So
that sounds like us. Yeah. And I was saying, like, that makes sense, like with my teas and the herbs and different things, and you have an interest in all of those things, and so does Emma as well. I want to meditate on that, because I hadn't looked into that aspect before. And when you were saying it, I was like, I could see the vision so clear, like us working with herbs and, whether it's like, being chemist or, botanist or whatever it is that we're doing up there. I'm like, that would make sense that we're working with plants and with their consciousness. So we're sort of getting towards the top of the hour. I just wanted to make sure to share. Let me just bring this back up. So for those of you that might have missed when I popped up Lisa's book before, please do go check out her book. And I just also want to read the back blurb. I've just popped it up on the screen, but it says, Visions of Shadows and Stars, Lisa DeMartino. In this captivating memoir, embark on the journey of profound transformation as Lisa DeMartino traces her path from confines of conservative Catholic upbringing to boundless expanses of spiritual enlightenment. Lisa delves fearlessly into the depths of her own consciousness, unlocking dormant gifts of clairvoyance and psychic intuition. Through the prism of meditation, she becomes the vessel for profound visions that illuminate the hidden truths of the cosmos. All along the way, she encounters spiritual guides and extraordinary beings that offer guidance and illumination, leading her towards profound understanding of her place in the universe. As Lisa navigates the turbulent waters of the self-discovery, she grapples with the questions of identity, purpose, and destiny. Visions of Shadows and Stars is a compelling memoir that inspires readers to embark upon the journey of self-discovery and enlightenment, prepared to be captivated, challenged, and ultimately uplifted as Lisa invites you to join her voyage of exploration and transcendence. For the sacred dance of life, the journey is as profound as the destination. And I had marked like various pages and chapters and things, and where you've talked about like your experience with chakras, or your experience with like dropping your daughter at school and then going to go home and meditate, and then it's time to go pick her up again. Like you really you dove deep. I also want to remind people that you have your deep dives in the desert YouTube channels. So please jump on over and like, share, and subscribe to Lisa and Emma's channel. It is amazing. And the girls are just getting started. So I can't wait to see what you girls do. And I just want to remind the audience, please join our smoothie challenge. We've got the Soul Bowls and Smoothie Book on sale at the moment for 10 US. So just use the code GLOWUP to save. That's valid till the 7th of July. And yeah, we're on day 6 of the smoothie challenge. So jump on over to the Maison Jupiter community. So masonjupiter.academy, and be inspired by what it is that we're posting and everyone sharing their beautiful smoothies. I also have the Glow Up code for the 25% off the holistic wellness session. But I also still have, and Sophie as well has her beautiful tarot and past life readings. Us girls are using the code Jupiter 10% on our psychic readings and tarot at the moment. So these are also still available. And just remember to please give us the love, like, share, subscribe over here at Maison Jupiter, whether it is on Rumble or whether it is on YouTube. Was there like a parting message that you would love to leave with the audience to really help inspire them on this journey of awakening and just reaching that because you have been down this journey of really like reaching into the depths and dedicating, big chunks of time to this awakening? What would you like to leave people with?
I hope that, if you're interested in expanding and going into these things, that you'll allow yourself the space to do it. And I also hope that, if you start to experience things, don't gaslight yourself. Just allow for the fact that the things are different and new, and it's okay. And just sit with it for a minute, and I'm sure that it'll work itself out for you, and kind of the clarity will come. So that's what I would say, is just if you feel compelled to look into something, to try something, do that, and let's see what you do. And I'm excited if you feel like you're experiencing something, please share it. But if it's not write a book, or you're not going to do YouTube, go on and share it where you can, and let us all know, because it's all of us coming together and doing this together, and everybody sharing their stories. It's how we make this normal, and how we move through to the next space that we're all going to go to. I'm excited. I can't wait. I can't wait to see what everybody does. That's why I wanted to do the channel, because I wanted everybody to have a place where they have a voice. And so I'm excited to see what happens with humanity.
That's so lovely. And just the energy of bringing everyone together in this space. And it's just, you just speak from such a heart-based place. I really resonate with your message. And this is so cute. I've got to read Emma's comment. I'm so proud of you, Mom. Thank you for having her soul. Love you both so much. We love you too. Yeah, you can just feel the love in this community, which is essentially the thing that's going to move us further forward and propel us into higher levels of awakening and opening, and really having that quantum reality reflect all of this back. So we're so blessed here. Thank you, Lisa. And I would love to have you and Emma to come back on too, where we can talk deeper into the starseed alien. I know Emma really loves like ancient aliens and things. Yeah. So I would love to like include her in on the ET combo too. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and the girls at Maison Jupiter too. I love you guys. I love your channel. So I appreciate you. And yeah, this was great.
Thank you. And thank you to our audience and the girls at Mace on Jupiter as well, our soul family. All right. I love you. And I will see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.